Good evening, welcome to the September 10th, 2013 meeting of the Raymond Select Board. We're going to try to keep the meeting short. Of course, I see it filled up right after I said that to my next door neighbor. But I assume a lot of people are here for public comment. When that comes up, I'd like to keep each of the speakers to 3 minutes. And I think we can make our point in 3 minutes. And my objective is to be out of here by 9 o'clock. We'll see how that goes. Listen to the president at 9, so.
Oh,
Are you cheering?
no.
Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting.
Make a motion to accept July 30th minutes.
Second?
All in favor? We're now on to new business, an update regarding safety improvement engineering study of Ledge Hill Road and North Raymond Road intersection. Nathan White will speak. As you will recall, that has been the site of some pretty severe accidents, auto accidents. So, Nathan?
Good evening, Sam. You should have in front of you the report from Goral Palmer Engineering. We hired them to come out and take a look at the intersection.
Yeah, I have it.
They did a 3-year overview of the crashes on that intersection in the last 3 years, and they outlined a couple of suggestions for upgrading that intersection, from signage to an island to a 4-way blinking light. I think we're going to go forward with upgrading the signs, some realignment with the center line. They want me to pull the center line to the right of that intersection a little bit. And we're waiting on pricing on lights, and what that's going to come out to, I don't know yet.
Okay, the size of the sign, was that an issue?
Yeah,
also?
they originally had quoted a 48-inch sign, and unfortunately, the only people that have access to a 48-inch stop sign is MDOT. We're trying to get them from MDOT. If I can't, the Goral Palmer was willing to lower it back down to a 36-inch sign, which is what's up there right now.
Okay.
They're going to change the height of them. They're going to bring them up to 6 feet to the bottom of the sign. And try to get them a little bit more visible.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
What about a stop sign with blinking red lights in the stop sign?
That's part of the lighting stuff that they're going to look at. I didn't have any prices yet for tonight. I was hoping to have all the pricing for tonight, and we haven't got them back yet. The intersection light, to put a 4-way blinking light there, they're talking around $100,000 to $150,000 to do that. But you're thinking of what's it?
Yeah, just the regular stop sign, but
Yeah, they get
instead
the
it has the
solar
blinking
light.
in it, just to give a little more alert that you need to stop here.
Yes, that's one of the ones that we were looking at. The other one was a solar-powered light that goes on top of the sign.
Yep,
We're just waiting back for prices on that.
cool. But the figure that you mentioned on the 100 and something,
That's
is
for
that,
an active blinking light. That would leave North Raymond Road would have a yellow steady flashing light. And as traffic approached the intersection off from Ledge Hill or Shaker Woods, that would activate a red light. And that starts in the $100,000 to $150,000, plus there's a monthly charge on it. They didn't think that was they thought that was a little bit overkill for that intersection. They felt pretty confident with the signing and the striping that would help it a lot.
Any other questions? Yes.
Nathan, when do you think all this is gonna come about?
We're gonna do the signage, that's all dig safe, and I'm gonna try to get the signs moved for next week. If we have to wait for the 48-inch signs, they're talking a month to 6 weeks to get those. If we don't have to go to the 48s, the 36s are already up. So,
And what are we gonna do about that sharp corner? You know, turning from North Raymond Road up Ledge Hill.
that, they're hoping, the idea is if you move the center line over and you put a stop bar in, the traffic coming off North Raymond Road will be more likely to make that turn. Other than that, it would be an island.
Okay.
Further questions? Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
thanks, Nate.
Next issue, consideration of resignations from the planning board. Pat Clark, who has served as chairman for a number of years, and Dan West.
I'll make a motion to accept Pat Clark's resignation.
Second.
Any comment? I will vote to accept that, but with reluctance.
Yeah, he's done a
He's
terrific job.
Terrific job for many years, and I served under him on the select board and,
On the planning board.
or on the planning board, and I know others feel the same way about it.
Absolutely.
Any questions? All in favor? With reluctance.
I'll write an appropriate letter of thanks to both.
Well, we
We haven't done Dan West yet.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to accept Dan West's resignation.
Second.
Any comment? Any questions? All in favor? That's done. Thank you.
Can I do a point of order?
Yes.
Before we can get to the other one, the next item on there, we need a resignation first, to consider that first.
We have that resignation.
do?
Yes,
Okay.
we got it this evening.
Oh, okay.
Next issue, consideration and appointment of new planning board member to fill the vacancy on the planning board. Steve Linay,
I'll make a motion to accept Steve Linne's resignation from the Budget Finance Committee.
Second.
questions? All in favor? Mr. Linay, I know you're here. I think we probably will have a couple of questions for you. If you don't mind stepping up to the podium. Thank you. This is Steve Linay. Everybody has seen him on television to this point. Any questions we're here to consider his appointment on the planning board. Questions, yes?
It's my understanding that you were on the planning board before,
Correct.
and then you left there to go to budget finance?
Well, what happened was, I ran for Budget and Finance, was elected, and then when I was actually going through a number of the ordinances, came across the ordinance, which I didn't realize was there, that said you cannot be on the Planning Board and Budget and Finance, and I think one other committee. And that, I didn't realize that existed.
Payments committee.
So I had to make a decision at that time. At that time, I decided to go with the Budget and Finance and resign from the Planning Board.
So now you're going back, you're
Correct.
now resigning from the budget finance?
Right.
I guess I have considerations, just because of the commitment back and forth.
Okay, the reason I'm going back to the Planning Board is, my background is engineering. And going through the budget process, having experienced now both committees, I just feel that I could actually provide a lot more benefit to the town as on Planning Board than on Budget and Finance. It fits with my background much better.
And I guess my only other concern is, being on a committee, you've got to work together. And I just know that things have been put out there without facts, which I'm concerned about, and I would ask that it not happen on the planning board.
I don't
like
think it
was
ever
in the
did
budget
in my
finance.
previous work on the Planning Board, and everyone that is on the Planning Board now voted for me to be back on the Planning Board. And I thought I worked very well with that group.
Okay.
Further questions? Yes.
Mr. Linne, you live down on Raymond Cape, if I remember.
Yes, I do.
And you know there's a big controversial application on Raymond Cape.
Right, I was actually involved in that. I was actually involved on the initial meetings and through the site walk on that project.
Do you
What-
feel you can be open-minded on that application?
Yes, I can. I believe and my feeling on that entire application is, as long as the ordinances are followed and there are, you have to look at the safety issues, the environmental issues, any other issues, that's the role of the planning board.
Any further questions? Do you hear a motion?
Didn't we already have one?
No, we
No,
have
we
a
did
motion
not.
to accept his resignation.
Motion to appoint Steve Linay as a member of the planning board.
Second.
Mr. Chair,
All, for
discussion.
Yes.
Mr. Linne, I am going to reluctantly vote for you. I watched your actions on the Budget Finance Committee. I thought a lot of it was uncalled for. You questioned a lot of things, and some of the stuff that you said was erroneous, and it was proven to you. And you didn't think it was a big deal. This is a different committee. Hopefully you have an open mind going into this thing. I hope you're not already prejudiced by some of the emails that have gone back and forth, including a lawsuit by the Friends of Raymond Cape. Are you a member of Friends of
No.
Raymond Cape?
No, can I say one thing? I have not seen those emails. Up to this point, I know I need to go in, actually, the requirement is I'm going to have to review all of those prior to any planning board meeting discussing that project. But no, upon my resignation, I did not get any more of those emails and on that project.
Okay. I'm reluctant to vote for you, but I will, to give you a chance on the planning board. I hope you do your homework and are open-minded about it.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor? Opposed? Passes, you're on. Congratulations. Next issue, consideration and appointment of Economic Development Task Force. We have Caroline Paris.
Good evening, Raymond Gifford and members of the Raymond Board of Selectmen. I'm Caroline Paris, a planner with the Greater Portland Council of Governments. We're proud to have Raymond as one of our member communities, and also grateful to Mike Reynolds for serving as our president for the last 2 years. Under a successful bid for services, we are providing planning and economic development services to the town of Raymond. And wearing that hat, I've been meeting with the Raymond Revitalization Committee to identify ways to improve the local economy. And that has led to this idea to establish a task force to look at what should the town of Raymond's role be in economic development. Certainly the events at Dielectric were a wake-up call on that question. So this proposal has two parts. One is the establishment of a task force, an esteemed slate of business and community leaders. And the second part is a charge to the task force to look at best practices in economic development and decide what's right for Raymond. Look at regulatory barriers that you can tackle right now to make the town more business friendly. And looking long-term at how should the town organize itself for economic development. I believe Danielle and I will be staffing that group, and the committee is charged with reporting back to the town no later than March 15th with recommendations.
Yes, thank you. The names are on people who have agreed to serve. We're very fortunate to have Rolf Olson, who is a very busy guy, and those are the kind of people we appointed, busy people, because they're doers. Teresa Sadak, Elisa Gifford, Bob Harmon, and Mike McClellan has agreed to serve. And Lori Forbes and Sharon Dodson. How did I forget? Oh, they're on the next page. All right, so thanks to all of you for agreeing to serve on this committee, or on this task force. I call it a task force because it has an end to it. It's not gonna just rattle on until, we have a report. We're gonna have a report in a 6-month period, and we're looking forward to that. We ask that the task force call on any staff that they feel they need or feel would help to answer questions. And in fact, any person, any resident of Raymond. So there we are. Thank you very much, Caroline, and thank you who have agreed to serve. Next issue. Consideration of setting of the 2013-14 property tax mill rate Kurt LaBelle, contract assessor, is going to walk us through that.
Good evening. I'm Kurt LaBelle, the assessor's agent for the town of Raymond. It's that time of year again where we get ready to set the tax rate and execute the warrants for the fiscal year 14 tax commitment. Over the course of the spring and the summer, the voters and their representatives have established their budgets for the municipal, school, and county appropriations. At the same time, the assessing office has been working on the valuation end of the tax equation, and that has been completed. Once you get down to that point, it's largely a mathematical calculation as to what number do you multiply the total taxable valuation of the town to get the sum of the tax needed to cover the county, school, and municipal budgets. And in the memo that I had sent out in the packet, I selected 3 tax rates which would satisfy the requirement of the assessors, and it will basically cover the charges, the public charges, and equal a tax rate which produces a rounded commitment. So all the paperwork numbers match up and we don't have fractional cents on the tax commitment. You'll see that there is going to have to be a tax increase this year. Last year we had a rate of $11.10. That rate would not be sufficient this year to cover the public charges. The minimum rate that would produce a rounded commitment would be $11.30. In the selection of its tax rate, the Board of Assessors is essentially assigning an overlay figure, which is the number that allows you to come up with that rounded rate. And an 1130 rate would yield an $84,048 and change overlay. 1140 rate, $182,803 overlay,
77.
and an $11.50 rate with a $281,558 overlay. I don't know if you folks got the email that I had sent out to Dawn earlier today. I'm sure the board was already aware of this issue, but at the time of town meeting, the warrant articles in the town anticipated main revenue sharing to come in around $195,000 for Raymond. And that was included in the warrant articles for non-tax revenue that was going to be used to reduce the commitment. About 3 weeks after the town meeting, and this happened to a lot of towns, once the dust settled on the state budget kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, a crisis, but the negotiations, new projections have been released, and it creates approximately a $77,000 shortfall for the town of Raymond over its expected revenues. That's probably the primary item that the Board of Assessors may want to keep in mind when they assign their tax rate. Aside from that, I'm ready for any discussion you may want to have. Once the rate's assigned, I'll prepare the warrants for signing.
Joe?
Kurt, the undesignated fund balance went up by $50-something thousand this year, currently.
Right.
Even though we have another $250,000 on top of that. But we've already spent pretty much that, based on some actions at town meeting. How do we use that $50-something thousand to reduce the tax rate? To offset the loss of revenue sharing?
Well,
Because that undesignated fund balance is a little higher than we require.
right. My understanding, and the finance end of it is not my area of expertise, the valuation end is. But my understanding is that the board is authorized to utilize, is it up to $75,000 of fund balance through the court?
Contingency.
Yeah, contingency, that's,
Right.
and that's not money that's included in the appropriation, correct? So there's potentially that avenue if it came to that. And then the other avenue is a special town meeting which would appropriate the use of whatever fund balance would be necessary. We're seeing that not so much on the town level right now, but a lot of schools are having special meetings because there's been some shortfalls on school funding and they're having to dip into their fund balance. But it's past the voting period, so they're having to have special votes. And
Well, a lot of schools are getting extra money now.
Yeah, but the ones that are not, you see they'll be going to fund balance. So that would be, I would imagine, the other scenario.
You could also, I'm not sure if it's too late or not, we have the auditor completing the financial audits, but I suppose you could have designated the undesignated fund balance carry forward to tax relief. You could have done that, or may still be able to do that, because you can revise the revenue projections, which is what we're hopeful about with respect to the excise tax specifically. Seems to be coming in very strong, so that could happen. That may require a town meeting ratification.
I'm just not sure we're gonna have a revenue shortfall. I mean, I know you know this, Kurt, that there may be a revenue shortfall for unpaid property taxes.
Right.
I'm not seeing that myself.
Right. Yeah, that's one of those scenarios that I wouldn't want to predict that would
Right.
happen, because it's kind of like a rolling ball. For every year that you're short, there are people paying on delinquencies from previous years that sometimes will cover that. So it may end up being a wash. That's probably the most.
And the other thing I see, Kurt, is that I think the legislature's gonna go back and give more revenue sharing to the towns in the next session. They ended up the year with a $54 million surplus. Revenues are coming in higher than expected right now.
Yep.
And all the towns are screaming at them. That means they're gonna react to it.
Right.
And I think there'll be more revenue sharing coming. That's why I'm just not buying into the fact that we need a tax increase, I guess is my point of view.
A tax increase seems to me as if it's inevitable, because I don't believe you can run an 11-10 rate.
If we were to run an 11-10 rate, we would look like we would be at a minus about 115,000.
Yeah,
And if
I
we
mean,
went
I haven't
11-20,
even
then we'd
run
be
that
about
calcul-
15,000,
Yeah.
16, 18,000 in that region.
Yeah, I didn't even run that calculation, because, in order to fulfill the public charges that have been appropriated by the legislative bodies, even an 11-20 rate would not do that.
What does the 1120 get us for an overlay?
That's in the negatives.
And negative 14, negative 18,
Yeah.
somewhere in that region,
So,
1,000.
Joe, we can do approximately 1123 and cover it,
Yeah.
if you wanted to get down to the penny-ish,
Well,
1122.
1125.
1125 would cover it, but it would leave almost nothing for abatements. Well,
not only that, but it's, the primary job of the assessors is to produce a tax commitment, which is proper.
right,
So when you get into fractional mill rates, in some towns, I can see that it's necessary. If you're carrying a $50 million budget, 10 cents on the rate's a significant amount of money. But if you're in a town where you can run a 10 cent, every 10 cent increments, that's, from an assessing standpoint, that's the way to go. As far as reducing revenue sharing, trying to pick up, if we anticipated a shortfall, we could, we chose not to run with the state's current projection on the tax calculation, primarily because the town's warrant articles specify that they're gonna use $2 million. So that's a known, voted on, approved number, as opposed to merely a projection. So, that's why it's recommended that we not run the lower number on revenue sharing. Joe, your feeling is, we're gonna get 195 and then other revenues, and could get more than that projection.
Well, the undesignated fund balance is growing right now.
and that's my question, do we know why? We know.
Well, most of it's probably excise tax.
Well, I guess that's the question. So excise tax was above expectation for last year, and
We feel
Did we
that that's
spend-
trending in a positive way, right?
did we spend less money?
that's also a factor. I haven't got the financial audit with me this evening. It's in,
Because without talking about the sale of the tower site, our undesignated fund balance went up 56 grand.
Right,
So we had a surplus.
right.
And we're scheduled to review our budget in January. The other question I had, and I don't know if you can answer this, Don, is if we sell those tax-acquired properties, is that undesignated fund balance, or does that go partially towards unpaid taxes and then undesignated? Does it go into revenues for this year? Where is that posted?
well, we're gonna have to the tax accounts, need to reach a final disposition, so I suppose that does occur, and then the balance to undesignated fund balance would be my belief. I'd want to.
That's what it goes.
I'd want to confirm that with the tax office, but I believe that's what happens, but it's an accounting maneuver, because it's all, whatever we get for them goes to the town.
No, I understand it
So-
goes to the town,
And then
but,
It goes in undesignated
And-
fund balance,
so,
just like every tax.
right, but we also need to make sure that those accounts are taken
well,
off the
I
books.
guess then my question was, the excise tax at the end of the year, because it was over, went into undesignated fund balance at the end of the year.
Right,
Once we get a tax-acquired property purchase, we pay off the taxes, the legal fees.
Well,
We're
that's
gonna
an
have,
accounting maneuver.
but can we maneuver that money into this year's
the quick
budget?
answer is,
Or
Joe's
does it,
correct, it all goes into fund balance, because it's, it's subsequent year's taxes and so forth, so it's a net plus to fund balance.
but would it lower that 77,000 we're short this year?
Uh,
I don't
Or
believe
no.
it's unappropriated money.
Right.
That's what I'm asking.
It's unappropriated
Okay,
money,
so-
so it's just sitting there.
So it sits there, all right.
So
Yeah,
what has to happen is, in the next budget cycle, you take those revenues and move them. I mean,
Yeah, if you've got more fund balance than you think is necessary, that money is there to reduce the property taxes in future years, as the town meeting sees fit to do so. If you wanted to do it on this year's, you'd really have to have,
you'd have to have a
you'd have to
special
have that
town
meeting prior to commitment. Once
Right.
I
But-
think it'd be too late once you.
I thought what we had decided, though, is to kind of look at a few months' history and see where we were with respect to revenues, and then decide whether or not, maybe look at that in January and decide whether we needed to take any action at all.
We did. Another question, Kurt, off the top of your head, do you know how much we gave out in abatements for the
Yeah,
last
it's in
year?
that email,
Under 10,000.
Under 10,000,
it
was
was
it in there?
8,900,
$8,900, okay.
if I remember.
In this email?
It was in the last email.
Oh, there it is, yeah.
Yeah, I guess the real
This came in.
issue is,
It's in it was on your desk
with the
somewhere.
lowest possible round number rate of 1130, produces an overlay of 84,000. If you apply the current projection of rev share, that gets washed away completely. With the $77,000 shortfall, you're left with very little money. So, you can be taking you're really rolling the dice if you think rev sharing's gonna come in higher, because we really don't know.
But you can't use overlay to offset the budget. The overlay goes into the undesignated fund balance.
That's right. Yeah,
So,
there's gonna be a loss this year,
maybe,
yeah.
right?
maybe.
I mean, it's the
Unless
same thing.
non-tax
An overlay doesn't
revenues
go,
come in.
an overlay doesn't go against budget, it goes to the undesignated fund balance for emergencies.
Yeah.
You're gonna use whatever you need to for abatements.
Are you saying we cannot leave the tax rate the same?
I don't see how you can leave the tax rate the same, because then there's not enough tax money to pay the appropriations that have been approved by the voters. You're not collecting enough money. As the assessors need to levy the amount of money that's warranted to them, to levy. So, if the county wants 627,814, we're gonna give them 627,814. The school wants 8.2 million, we're gonna levy 8.2 million. The town said it needs 4.3, but it said it's gonna use a specific number to offset that, leaving a certain amount of money that needs to be collected in tax, so we've gotta get that. I don't know that we have the authority to come in under, to levy less money than what's warranted to us.
But we said we're gonna get 195,000 from revenue sharing.
Right,
That's what we said.
right? Yep,
We have some report from the treasurer saying, well, it's gonna be 117.
right, yep.
But we'd be rolling the dice and say, I think we're getting 195.
Yeah, but that's in the approved warrant, so I don't see how, it's not really that, the assessors aren't really just saying, I'm gonna pick a number. That's a number that was stated in the warrant articles.
195.
Right.
So we're relying on getting 195,000 in revenue sharing, right?
That's right.
So we can say, we expect that 195,000.
Okay. But if you run an 11-10 rate, you're just not producing enough tax revenue. You'd have to get a number, you'd have to apply a number well beyond 195,000 in order to make up the difference. You see what I'm saying? You'd have to, if you're gonna short the tax commitment 100,000, you need 295,000 to come home, right? But the number stated in the warrant says you're gonna use 195, so where are you gonna get the 100,000?
There was no increase in our budget, in the municipal budget. None. Zero. There was a $52,000 increase in the school budget. Correct?
Correct.
Yes. So really, we
I
need
don't
to
know.
cover $52,000.
County go up?
County is part of our budget.
No, there's municipal, I don't have last year's municipal numbers in front of me. Just on the property tax end, municipal, oh yes, I do have it. The municipal budget this year is 4.325 million. Last year was 3.693 for an increase of $631,000. On the property tax side, it's 2,177,000, an increase of 62,160 over the 215 property tax to municipal that we ran last year. 662. If we get all the other revenue that we think we're gonna get.
I'm hearing we're gonna get the revenue sharing. I'm hearing that.
So Joe, your question, you're looking at our municipal budget, which was not supposed to have a tax increase.
Right.
We have the school, which we know went up 50-some-odd thousand dollars.
Right.
Okay, so if each penny on this assessment is $9,800, we ought to be able to cover that amount of money with 6 cents. Right, so if you went from 110 to 116, you'd cover it. But I'm not sure that county didn't go up, so that might be
But the
more.
county's part of our municipal budget.
It
I
wasn't,
mean, our town budget. It's in there as a warrant article.
I think it's boiled out of that 4.3 million.
yeah, but I don't think that was what was flat, though. When we discussed the budget as a group and we approved the budget, it did not have the county tax as part of that budget.
I think it did.
I think the warrant articles had it, but I don't think that the budget did.
Yeah, because the county tax is a pass-through rate to the assessors. The
Yeah.
town meeting doesn't really have the authority.
So they might
to
have gone
say
up a
whether or not
little.
the county tax is like the school tax. It
Yeah,
comes
they went
directly
up
from,
$30,000.
the entity.
So if they went up 30, that we're only at 80. So we ought to be able to you ought to be able to go to 1120 based on what you're saying, and you'd still have an overlay of more than 10,000, which would take care of your possible rebates. But that's not what we're seeing for numbers here.
I know.
We're off more than that.
School's up 51, county's up 38, municipal 62, TIF 4,800,
Municipal
and with an
62.
with an 11.30 mill rate, the overlay would be up 56,000. So your total tax increase is $213,000.
What about the increases to property tax for new assessments, which is what we figured
Yeah.
our flat budget off,
Yeah.
right? Our whole budget was based on our anticipated growth in,
And we had 1%
Yeah,
growth.
it's very little growth, maybe a little over $1 million in taxable value growth this year. That very little new house starts in 2012. It's just, there's no new substantial growth to offset tax increases.
that's not what I'm asking, Kurt. I'm asking about the number we were given as part of the budget process, which is what we based our zero tax increase budget off, which is now not the case, if these calculations are correct. Kurt, can you go through that again? School was 51,
County's 38,
county's 38,
TIF is
Yeah.
4,800.
Municipal 62. This is property tax. This isn't gross budget, it's property tax. TIF 4,800, and there's some different, there's some change in there, I'm just estimating. Overlay 56,000. Last year, it just happened to hit that an 11.10 rate would give you an overlay that was fairly low, 20-something thousand dollars.
All
Would
right,
it,
hold on, Kurt, hold on. That's not what I'm asking. So where'd the 62 come from?
Well, that doesn't factor in the increase in revenues.
It also doesn't count the 77,000 short from the state. That's what I'm trying to understand. Our budget was based on an estimated number for revenue from property tax increase, which is how we got to zero. Now it's not zero, it's 62,000 off, before you get to the shortfall from the state of 77. Which is why you're having trouble making your number work, Joe. The TIF I understand, the county I understand, school I understand. I don't understand the municipal. That should be zero. Increase to our tax, to this discussion.
What would be the tax increase at a 27 mill rate increase? Average $200,000 home. So if my math is correct, is that a $40 increase?
let's see, 10 cents. Yeah,
I think it is, whatever
I think
calculator.
it's $40.
be pretty fairly minimal.
Yeah.
If we went to 1125, we'd have an overlay of 49,000. Excuse me. 49,377, I think.
It's about 50,000 every,
Every 5 cents.
every 10 cents is
Yeah.
about $100,000.
So it would be 35,000 if we were at 1125, much to Kurt's chagrin, but that would still be a 15-cent increase.
Which would be a $30 a year tax increase.
For that type, yeah, for the
Right,
2,000.
200,
200, yeah.
I think 35,000, based on what we've experienced in overlay the last couple of years, is enough. But if we went down to 1120, like you said, we'd be in negative, and I don't think as a board we can go negative to the budget. And I'm gonna respect Kurt and not go more than, not go to 23 as a suggestion,
Right.
but I know in the past we've done fives. Before Kurt's time, we've done fives. We split that 10 cents to 5.
I'll tell you what's bothering me. Here we have an increase in the undesignated fund balance and we're gonna raise taxes. That thought really bothers me. It means that the town's collecting more money than we need, yet we're gonna raise taxes to collect more money. So,
What do you think about a special town meeting?
I'm not opposed. But we have to set the tax rate tonight. You can't go negative, because, it really doesn't make sense to do so. But I'm not opposed to having a special town meeting, maybe sometime in February, March. And we'll have a better idea in 6 months of where our revenues are.
Right.
And if we have more revenue, we apply it to reducing taxes. Which would, can we set the rate again? This is it.
We can give a rebate
Right.
Yeah.
on the second commitment.
He's like,
If you want to hold the tax rate flat, I believe you'd have to have your meeting and appropriate your fund balance prior to committing the tax. If you,
But we don't have time.
right.
I mean, the tax bills have to go out in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Right, well, at the same time, you would have to have the voting body reset the due
Right.
dates. The other alternative is to run as low a rate as you can, and like you said, if you find you're in financial shortfall mid-year, you'd have to have a town meeting at that time to pull fund balance if you felt necessary to cover the year's charges. That would be the other alternative.
That still leaves us at 1123 at a minimum.
Well, let's round it to 1125.
Right, but I mean,
Yeah, because, you've got these increases on the county and the school, and that are, affecting your rate. Those are 100% funded by property tax, so, you can't have increases on those items and not have tax rate change. It's just, unless you have big
11.25
value,
and have a
unless you had a
special
big,
town meeting.
unless we picked up $7 million in taxable value to offset it. That would be the only way that you'd be able to do
well, that Economic Development Committee, I'm sure we'll have that done by,
Okay, yeah,
by.
by March.
Yeah, by March, right?
Easily.
Easily.
All right, I'll make a motion to set the tax rate at 1125 with a review of revenues.
We've already got one set for January's meeting from our last meeting
That's right.
to look at revenues.
And we'll be going through the budget discussion anyway, so we'll have a better idea at that point. But I second that.
There's a motion and seconded. Questions? All in favor? Done, 1125, thank you.
it.
Thank you very much, Kurt.
So I've got some paperwork
Okay,
for you.
terrific.
I know it doesn't have a zero, Kurt, but
Yeah, cause me pain.
I am gonna cause you pain.
Main revenue won't be happy with me though.
Well, you tell them to slap my hand, because it wasn't your choice.
Well, I anticipated it.
All right, folks, the
I'll
next,
fill it out for you.
At what, though?
1125.
You did? Where? Show me.
okay, let's move on to the next issue, which,
Everywhere it's this thing.
Tenny River Project update. John Rand here.
I think John Rand's outside, do you want me to get it?
Yes, thank you. While we're waiting, let's look at the next issue, which is consideration and approval of appointing the town manager as Freedom of Information Officer and Executive Assistant, Danielle as alternate.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Absolutely, second.
Questions? All in favor? Approved.
Okay, Teresa, there are a lot of them.
Oh, my God.
Every place there's a tab, that includes on the back.
Oh,
Okay, John, you're
Okay.
up. You've been introduced. And we've had applause and, you know, the cheerleaders were up there and game time.
Thank you, Board of Selectmen, for having us tonight. I'm John Rand, Raymond Conservation Commission, and here tonight to give you an update on the Tenny River project is Ann Gass, who I guess in this day and age of full disclosure is my cousin.
Good thing you disclosed that.
Did I already disclose that in past meetings?
She denies it.
She's smarter than me. But Annie has put together a great kind of summary of the Tenny River Conservation Project and where it has come from in the last 2 years of putting the project together, you know, where they stand now in their fundraising efforts, and what some of the timelines and targets are for getting to the finish line about a year from now. So you folks have a package that she provided to Danielle, and that includes a current version of the draft conservation easement, the summary, and I won't draw this out, and I'll let her come right up. And I guess from a municipal perspective, I'd just say that the project is entirely focused on these two, from the Conservation Commission standpoint, on these two documents. The 2004 comprehensive plan, which directed the protection of natural resources of high value and of special interest to the town. That document directed this type of project, and this document also directed this document, which the town approved in 2009 to protect areas of special quality in the town of Raymond. So we're following good documents that the town has produced, and we're lucky to have Annie here to lead this project along.
Thank you, John. And thank you very much, Select Board, for allowing us to be here tonight and entertaining this proposal from us. It's been quite a long road already. It's been, I can't believe it's been since 2010 that some local landowners, including my family, as well as the Boy Scouts and Luneco Land Trust, have been working together to preserve the Tenny River corridor. And as John has mentioned, this is, you know, a number of studies have pointed to the significance of this area of town and the importance of preserving land along the river. Just to be clear, we're requesting $15,000 from the town of Raymond's Conservation Fund to support this project. The total acquisition cost is about $220,000, of which we've raised about a little more than half to date. So we have a little bit more to go, and the town of Raymond's contribution is critical to getting to the finish line. And we've made considerable progress since we came to you last. One of the things that we've done that you requested last time we were in front of you was that we actually draft the conservation easement. You want to see that language, and that's what has been provided to you. This is a result of many months of working between the landowners and the Boy Scouts and Luneco Land Trust. We have that, you know, and I in the executive summary, I wanted to just kind of hit the highlights of the easement and the kinds of things that I, you know, from my understanding and discussions with John, I thought the town would be most concerned about knowing. So the primary purpose of this project is to protect habitat and water quality, and the riparian corridor of the river. Equally significant is protecting the river character, the sort of wild nature of the river, which is pretty unusual in southern Maine. And then lastly, it's protecting the adjacent uplands, which are critical for habitat and water quality protection. You know, a key sort of discussion point over the months and years has been the nature of public access along this land. And what we've sort of settled on is that we'll allow limited public access, recognizing that the most critical or most important focus of this easement is to protect, or in the land purchase, is to protect the river and the water quality. The public access is a little secondary, so limited public access will be allowed. That includes things like snowmobiling, use of it by horseback riders, mountain bikers. The Boy Scouts will have the right to sort of manage that public use, and if there are problems with the use of the property, if there's, people have parties and strew beer cans around or something like that, or are really loud, anything that endangers the conservation purposes of the easement, the Boy Scouts will have the right to protect that. So, but hunting will be allowed by the public with the permission of the Boy Scouts, the Pine Tree Council. Recognizing, so with the understanding of that definition of limited public access, we're not proposing to have any public parking area on that land. There's currently the only access to the land, the only road access is over a private road. So there's no good place to put a parking lot at this point. But access by the river or from the river would be allowed. The vision for this property is that it will remain in a fairly wild and undeveloped state. The Boy Scouts would have the right to put up, signs or crossings for a boggy area or something like that. They could put up a little bridge. They can create some more trails as long as they're not paved. They can put up a privy or something like that, and we would actually encourage them to if they were using that property lot as they plan to for kind of wilderness backcountry activities for their scouts. But there won't be tent platforms or dining halls or things of that nature. And then finally, the commercial forest management is something that we envision will continue to happen on that property over time. The Scouts already have a sustainable forestry plan, but the easement specifically requires that it complies with best management practices for forestry. So those are some of the high points as we see them, but I'd be happy to entertain any other questions from you all.
Joe?
And when I was reading over, you originally asked for 10,000, now you're asking for 15. That's changed in a year, right?
Well, I think we had talked about a $10,000 to $20,000 range, and so I sort of stuck in the middle there.
John's email says 10 as of last year.
As of last year, yeah. Well, we have a significant fundraising goal. The town, as I said earlier, the town of Raymond's contribution is a critical piece that we need to put the whole funding puzzle together.
Who wrote up this easement?
You
have an attorney doing it?
Yes, Rob Levin, I believe, was a consulting attorney for Luneco Land Trust, and there was an attorney for the Boy Scouts as well.
How do you enforce it?
How all of these are enforced. The Luneco Land Trust is the holder of the easement and has the right and responsibility to do annual inspections of the property and make sure that nothing has been done that transgresses the language of the easements. It's also in there, it's recorded in the deed of the property, and they have if anybody wants to complain or bring up issues, they can do so directly with Luneco.
Yeah. I just have a hard time when you start limiting public access. You're either going to have an easement or you're not, which means that the public has access. And to say that, well, you can only do it in these months of the year, and this is all we're going to allow, I think it's hard to enforce that kind of thing.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I'm an abutter of the Pine Tree Council's land there, and I mean, my sense is that it hasn't been an issue really for the Scouts. I mean, that they, you know, we have used that property to walk on outside the summer months, when camp is not in session. And there's never been an issue there. I mean, I've been talking with Scout managers. I mean, it's clear that they're very attuned to who's on that property and are right on them if you know, if they're, especially when camp's in session and there are kids around, they're very attuned to that. And so I actually don't see the problems in enforcing it that
But
that you
once
raised.
it becomes public land, has a whole different spin on it.
Well, I think it's an ongoing educational process, honestly. I mean, I think that it really is manageable. And the thing about these easements is that, you know, there's, every grantor of an easement has the right to dictate the terms under which the public can or cannot use that property. And so there's no right or wrong or you know, one size fits all. I know that my aunt's property here in Raymond has a conservation easement on it, and there's, you know, I think they kind of went to one, you know, end of the spectrum and said that there was no formal public, you know, no public access allowed, and there are others where it's all about public access. But I think it's perfectly normal and reasonable to have this in between.
I mean, you live down River Road, I assume?
Yeah, or have a camp there.
Okay, who's gonna stop anyone from driving and parking down there?
Well,
Are you gonna post it and say there's no access?
the Scouts have that right to do it. I mean, honestly, I think it's really about, it's not about, you know, prohibiting any kind of public use at any particular time. It's really more about respectful use. And if people go on the property and, you know, create problems, park in an area where they, you know, they shouldn't be parking, or you know, where they obstruct traffic on the road, then the landowners along the road, believe me, are not a quiet, passive bunch, and they'll be sure to check in with whoever is doing it and make sure that they know what they can and can't do there. So I think that the neighbors will certainly help patrol that, and it's an ongoing process. I think there's nothing. I mean, it's like you can post a park and say that it's not, it's closed after sunset, and people may still use it.
Do the landowners own River Road, or is it a private road with an easement?
It's a private road
With an easement.
for a right of way for.
Yeah.
I think that's true, yeah, because it wasn't developed all at the same time.
I think, Joe, I could add a bit, if you like.
Yeah.
And I can talk about this one. Just looking at Section 7, recreational uses, 7C, limited public access. As it's drafted right now, grantor, namely the Scouts, grant the holder, Loon Echo Land Trust, the right to assure that the general public will have access to protected property for daytime, low-impact, non-motorized use, so forth. So the Scouts are granting the holder the right to assure public access. It's not necessarily signed up for right off the get-go, but Loon Echo has the right to grant public access in that limited way, limited public access. Page 2, furthermore, grantor, the Scouts, may control, limit, prohibit, by posting other means of the following uses by the general public: hunting, trapping, fishing, nighttime use, campfires, picnic parties, loud activities, bicycles, so forth, bump, bump, bump. So front line is the Scouts for controlling the public access, the limited public access in a manner that meets the conservation purposes that's spelled out in the front of the document, and works for them as well. So they'd be front and center, and the land trust has the right by this document to enforce the conservation purposes if for some reason they've been violated. Perhaps the Scouts haven't acted in what the land trust sees as an appropriate level of management of public access. And part of the financing of conservation projects typically involves a stipend payment to the land trust of $5,000 or $10,000 that's folded into the financing of it to go into a kitty that Luneco holds to enforce conservation easement violations. Fortunately, there haven't been many in the industry or in the sector here in the state. There have certainly been some. I mean, in the worst case, they've made wealthy folks in the Maine coast take houses down that they put up on islands because it was in the easement. You couldn't have a house on that island. And that took some legal actions and horsepower. So the mechanisms are there, and the agents of that are the scouts front and center, and Luneco backing them up, I think.
Has our attorney looked at this easement?
No.
Can I just ask, is it your preference that we just flat out say no public access? I mean, would that make you feel more comfortable?
No, I would never spend town money on not allowing public access.
Right.
That makes no sense.
Right.
I'm not gonna subsidize all the private landowners on River Road with town money. That makes no sense at all.
Right. I mean, I appreciate that point of view, but I think by the same token, I mean, we could say in this that there's no public access and people might still try and use it. I mean, and so I don't think it's a problem to say that there's, public access is allowed, but just limited.
I would like a review from our town attorney on this before we use Raymond funds on
For
this.
private property.
Yeah, that's, okay.
That's why I guess my question is, and I was just listening, just to maybe understand it is town funds, but it's no public access, so that's why I'm trying to figure out.
No, that was my question from the beginning.
Well, it's limited public access, right? It's
Limited government
yeah.
by.
Well, it is, but also too is how easy is it for people to get a hold of Pine Tree Council to do something on there? Do you know what I mean? To be able to ask, because on here, you need permission, like hunting will be allowed with permission of Pine Tree Council and stuff like that.
Well, they're in the phone book and on the web,
Okay.
so it'd be pretty, there's staff there year-round that can be reached, and Luneco is also a fully staffed organization.
I like Joe's idea of getting our town attorney to review this.
Sam, I think the project's a great idea from the get-go. I mean, as a board member, my hardest thing is it's town money going to private landowners to take property off the tax rolls and conserve it. I understand the conserve part of it. I'm not as concerned with the access part of it, I think, as I've heard some others here. But I guess I'm curious, maybe Don, as a town, I mean, is this precedented that we would contribute money to something? And I know basically we're contributing it to the scouts, basically. I mean, that's technically the owner with the easement, or whichever way you look at it, it's really for the scouts. I mean, it's gonna increase their property and it's gonna be for their use.
It's town money, but.
But I mean, in terms of, I mean, does this put the town in an awkward situation? I know that's probably what Joe's asking as well. You give public money to something like this, where we're such a small percentage, does it matter?
There is some, the first question, is it unprecedented? No. I have actually run into this in my career in other towns. I guess it's up to the Board of Selectmen, I think, to gauge the public benefits versus the level of expenditure, probably versus the overall expenditure. You know, our share is relatively small. Our use and interest perhaps is equally small, but I think that's the guiding principle is, will there be a definable public benefit, from open space land? Will there be some level of public access and use? Does that public access and use and definable open space benefit equal to or greater than what you're contributing? But it's not unusual. But I've spent my whole career as kind of a public access, public rights kind of guy, so I may not be the the right guy to ask, but in a prior town, of course, we were involved in a very active, I guess you'd call it a fight 25 or so years ago over the open space tax law, the idea being that there ought to be a definable public benefit before the town gave significant tax break to property owners, and we ended up on the losing end of that at the Maine Supreme Court. But since then, I've become somewhat enlightened, and I've come to see conservation land and acquisition differently, and so for me, it would come down, me personally, not the town, but you know, what are you paying, what are you getting? Does it make good public policy sense, good conservation sense?
As a follow-up, I mean, you know, at 15,000, which is the new number we heard tonight, it's about 6.5% of the purchase price. And, you know, I could easily wrap my head around the first, 40 feet from the water as being that 6.5%. I mean, it doesn't work that way, but I could easily put that into the conservation plan and into the comprehensive plan and that from a logic standpoint. So if there's no restrictions and we find out from our legal team that this does not put us in jeopardy, we don't have to guarantee access, there's, it's not a, I mean, I think it's good use of our conservation funds for a project like this, but I would be concerned that if we contribute, that we have any liability for access. And I don't think I can vote for it till I know the answer to that question, but I do think it's a great use of the conservation funds that we have.
I'm all in favor of conserving the land. I just wanna make sure that it's done to the benefit of the town also.
And I do snowmobile over that now. I'm pretty sure I go over that section now.
Well, I think you ought to put a $10,000 contribution in right now.
I'll talk to you afterwards.
I like 15
Can I just point out that this is actually phase one of a three-phase plan for conserving land along the river. So this is one 29-acre parcel. We've been negotiating with the adjacent landowner, haven't come to agreement with her yet, but are pursuing that quite eagerly. And then phase three, so with the adjacent landowner, which is phase two, the whole easterly side of the river, almost all of it would be conserved. And then phase three is the Scouts agreeing to a similar kind of conservation easement to the westerly side of the river. So when you think about the total cost of preserving land along the length of the river, the $15,000 that the town of Raymond contributes is really a pretty small fraction of that total acquisition cost and preservation cost. And so I just want to kind of put it in that larger context.
So you're saying you won't come back to the town for phase two or phase three?
That's what I just heard.
Well,
I just heard that. That's what I just heard.
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying, yeah.
That's what you said.
Not this year.
Not this year, yeah. So certainly not phase three. Let's just put it that way.
Is the question that I'm asking the town attorney confined to the issue of liability? Because I'm relatively certain the liability is gonna run with the landowner, and if everybody who contributed to this had some, shared liability, it would be hard to get
Yeah,
donors,
I think so, yeah.
So I don't think that's an issue. However, crazy things happen in the world when it comes to, litigation, so crazy things can happen, but I don't really think that that's the case in this instance.
Don, I may have used liability.
Yeah, I'm asking the question for.
Improperly. I guess if we use town funds, are we gonna get called on the carpet for access? I guess that's that's my question.
Because of town money?
Well,
Is there anybody that can come back and say legally, the town put money into this, I'm a tax-paying resident, I have access?
I'm gonna defer to the attorneys on that, but my gut feeling is that you would have accepted the easement, you would have made the contribution based on the accepted easement, so
Okay.
that's what the taxpayer will be left with.
And that's my question, just.
But I wanna make sure that's what I'm asking of the attorneys.
Well, my thing is, do they have the right to limit public access if there's public money being put into this?
Right, that's the question.
I think the answer is gonna be yes, but I'll find out.
Yeah, I think the answer's probably yes too, but I just want,
Okay, I got it.
So I guess there's
for
no
questions?
action we can take until we hear back from our attorney. Do you have a timeline on this?
We need to complete the fundraising for phase one by next summer.
We'll have an opinion back for that.
Okay.
We'll
We're
get
hoping
back
to be
to
on
that.
your warrant in June,
I should be able to
right?
have an answer within a couple of days, I would think.
Yeah, probably by next meeting.
All right.
All right, thank you so
Okay,
much.
Thanks very much, Ann.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next is we'll open it up to public comment. But I wish to reiterate that we're gonna keep it to 3 minutes apiece because there are so many people here. And please do not let it become redundant. If a point has been made, let's not have 2, 3 people get up and make the same point. With that, I open it up now to public comment. Anyone wish to get up and publicly comment? Yes, Charlie?
Good evening, glad to see you all. I think that was nice. My name is Charles Levitt, I'm 14 Levitt Road in East Raymond. I would just like to bring to the attention of the board that you had a special selectmen's meeting on August 21st, 2013, and I didn't see that on the agenda tonight for accepting the minutes for that meeting. Maybe something, it's an oversight or something you didn't feel was significant. I was at that meeting. It was held at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Just a consideration to make that under executive session or meeting, call for meeting order, it's required to have a precise nature as well as the citation for an executive session. I was here for that meeting. I asked to speak. I was not recognized because what I wanted to do is find out what was the precise nature of your executive session. It was confusing to the public. Some folks thought it might have, since it had to do with legal issues before the town, some folks thought it might have had to do with the Fry Island situation. Some folks thought it might have had to do with the town paying legal expenses for a pending lawsuit. And so I would recommend going forward in the future that the board, number one, when a citizen stands before this podium, comes to a meeting, asks to be recognized, is recognized and is allowed to ask their question. The precise nature of the meeting, I'm sure well, we can call our friends and maybe Janet Mills is a good friend of all of us, the Attorney General, to find out and get an interpretation of what precise nature of the meeting is. A citation was given for the meeting, but I believe a precise nature would help the public in full disclosure and allowing the public to understand what's taking place. Otherwise, it gives the appearance of a secret meeting. So, again, thank you for allowing me to make that public comment.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make public comment? Please give your name and your residency address.
Hello, I'm Chris Flynn from 136 Plains Road. I'm here tonight to discuss an event that was held at my good neighbors, Camp Hines Boy Scout Camp on August 24th. Saturday, they held a fundraising. I think they called it the Great Maine Shootout or some sort of clay shooting fundraising event. I just wanted to bring up the fact that it very much disrupted my day with my family. I had an event at my house. It was extremely loud, over the top loud, nothing I've experienced in the 10 years I've lived there. Also, part of the day, my family and myself were using the Tenny River, which is good to hear that the neighbors are trying to cooperate to conserve. While myself and a few other family members were in a boat on the Tenny River, I was approached by a staff member of the Scouts and told to look out for fallout from the firing of guns. But however, if I kept to the left, I should be okay. Which I was kind of surprised to hear. I have spoken with Eric Tarbox about this event, and he assured me that it wasn't something that was part of their master plan for the going forward in the future, that this was, it was just a fundraiser that wasn't even supposed to be there, that it was just moved last minute because of cancellation. And for me, the noise level was excessive. The safety issue with the travel down the river is very concerning. And I'm just kind of wondering how such an event could have been allowed to happen. I guess are my 2 points, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. There are, when you and I had the discussion, didn't you tell me that you were told that the fundraiser was so successful that there may be another one next year?
No, I wasn't told that by any scout people, but I think I don't know where I heard that. It was my wife heard that somewhere and told me. I don't recall. I don't recall hearing that. But I remember I did speak with you about this. I remember traveling by your house and thinking, how could you put up with this? It went
I
on
had
for
to send my
several hours.
grandchildren home.
Yeah. And I'm just concerned that this might be something that continues. Not saying, well, I don't know anything about what their plans are, but it just doesn't seem like it goes in the same path that they've been traveling for many years over there.
Well,
So,
right, thank you very much. That's an issue, I've had a lot of complaints about that, one of them being myself and my family, because I'm in a butter across the river. And actually, a couple of years ago, my wife and I were paddling up the river, and we did get rained on by shotgun
I didn't see
shot.
that day. I didn't see it.
So, now this is an issue, not only with me, and it's an issue that has been, let me just add this, if you don't mind, that we were told, we had an email, and we were told that it was going to begin at a certain time and end at a certain time. 6 o'clock that night, it was still banging right across the street, right across the river from me. So, I have an issue with this too. Anybody else? Yes.
Hello, everyone. Board, thank you for inviting or allowing me to come up here as well. I am fairly new to Raymond. I live at 11 Presidential View. I moved here in April.
Your name?
My name is Ronald Lemons. I was at this event as a participant, and again as a fellow citizen of Raymond. Felt somewhat honored. I was happy to be there, with the camaraderie, with the being able to get up and spend the day and learn more about this area, these people, and this organization with the Boy Scouts and the Pine Tree Council. It was a daytime event, and again, as a participant of this event, I think I can pretty much guarantee that the last shots that were fired at this event were by my company. We were doing a demonstration on a police, a tactical vehicle.
We heard
there
the loudspeaker from the tactical.
Correct,
vehicle.
and we were there with the Portland SWAT team, the SRT team. And that did end before 6 p.m. It was, like I said, it was a daytime event. I have neighbors somewhat close to me, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night sometimes, out firing, I would assume handguns, I don't know, it's what it sounds like to me. And I'm more concerned with that, where these people put up berms and barriers and had targets and everything to work at a proper shooting range. 9 years in the Marine Corps, prior service, so I have a lot of experience with handling weapons and with firing weapons and some of the safety involved with that as well. But again, I just want to express that I had a wonderful time there, and I would like to see it again.
It was a nice day. We shut our doors and stayed inside the house, and the grandkids went home. So I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Anybody else? Yes. Julie?
My name is Julie Sutherland. I live at Ledge Hill Road in Raymond. I just wanted to get it out there that I brought the fireworks issue to you before, and it sort of didn't go anywhere. So on September 28th at 2 p.m. at the Taste of Maine in Woolwich, we are having a big meeting with town representatives and lawyers. We are gathering information, talking to people about the concerns. We're looking to write up a bill to present to the House in January for fireworks concerning livestock, animals, barns, stables, etc. and etc. This is an issue that is really getting way out of hand. Numerous animals have been killed. And the nuisance. You call the sheriffs, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, they don't come over. So now we're taking it to the next step. We're going to the legislation. So if anybody wants to come over, 2 o'clock, September 28th, at the Taste of Maine in Woolwich, and voice your opinions, if you have any ideas, we'd surely appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Anyone else? Well, that'll close public comment unless someone else wishes to speak. Closing public comment. And we'll move on to the town manager report and communications.
First, I'd like to confirm the date for the next regular meeting. We have it at October 8th, if that works.
Yep.
All right.
That's it?
No, I wanted to report on,
You are in a hurry.
I wanted to report briefly on some good news, I think, and which you asked me to report on.
Yes.
You had asked me to contact the town of Casco to see if they had any interest in working with us on economic development. And the answer is unanimous from their Board of Selectmen. Yes, they do, and they're anxious to see what the results of our task force study is, and they want to possibly, should we decide to venture into this area of economic development, they want to explore cost sharing with us on that. They think it's a great idea and that it's something that their town should be doing as well. And so they have impaneled themselves a group for their town, and they'll be looking at this very aggressively as well and anxiously awaiting our report.
Good. Thank
That's
you.
it.
Great, thanks. Okay, Board of Selectmen communication. And we'll, yes.
I have a report from the library. Sally has sent me a nice report to get out there. The annual appeal for the Raymond Village Library has started. Hopefully, folks who have received that in the mail will be able to get them off a donation. They are doing it a little earlier this year to try to avoid the holidays. And if anybody didn't get an annual appeal letter, they'd be happy to take a donation on their website or by stopping in. The library is open Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. They've also added a new service. If anybody needs faxes sent, The library now offers fax service, so you can have faxes sent from the library. It's $2 for the first page, 50 cents thereafter. And now that it's fall, the what I would call the school year programs have started up. Baby and toddler time is every Monday at 10:30, and that's stories for babies and toddlers. The preschool story time is Wednesdays at 10:30. And there's also a second computer now for internet access, which was just added. So that's the report this month from the library. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Mike. Teresa?
I'm gonna be greedy. I have two things.
Okay, number one.
One is the email that I sent out to everybody regarding the middle school that they're looking to build for the Wyndham Raymond School District. I sent it out to the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Finance people as far as the answers that just recently came in. And no, I am not getting on that committee. And yeah, that's just no, that ain't happening. I would not be a benefit. I'm really concerned about this, really concerned about
Reason to be concerned.
them looking. Somebody else that also got some answers had said, for anybody that's not out there, the Wyndham Raymond School Board has put a request out there for an economic middle school facility. They want to build a middle school for Raymond Wyndham kids. Don't know where it's at. Don't know. We're not going to get any state funding. We're 41 out of 72 people. So there's no way we're going to get any state funding. So they put out a thing for, I'm sorry, it might take more than 3 minutes. They put out a request for people from both towns to get on this committee to work together to find land, find options, some ideas, and everything like that. They did it within a week, and then they wanted to start meetings right away. But the meetings were during the day. So they weren't getting enough people to do that, so they changed the time of the meetings. My question is why, the comment to somebody else, I'm sorry if I'm confusing, was that this is a 10-year plan, they're gonna do this in 10 years. Then why start doing a committee now, and why have the meetings now? What benefit does it have to Raymond as far as a middle school combined, a brand-new middle school? If you take away the Jordan Small School that we have here now, what's it gonna bring people into this town? If I was a new family coming into this town with kids, would I look to come to Raymond if I only had an elementary school or a K-5 school? We are gonna lose money. We are going to lose families. We are going to lose businesses. We really are. I'm really, sorry, chills, concerned. In this other person that was questioning this also, she just said that, nope, it's just trying to throw some ideas out there right now. Jordan Small is losing. We don't have as many kids, we really do. But some of the questions were, what do we do with the Jordan Small kids? You know they're not gonna build that school up here in Raymond. So our kids in Jordan Small, they're gonna close Jordan Small, and this is just my assumption, and they're gonna be shipping them all down to Wyndham. And we are going to be stuck paying for a very, very expensive middle school that we don't need. We have 2 middle schools right now, and the big issue that I see right now is Wyndham people do not want to come to Raymond. We have a perfectly good middle school over there right now that we can use, put some money into that. I know one of the gripes that they have right now is they're shipping some kids up from Raymond that have volunteered, Wyndham, that have volunteered, and it's costing them $11,000 to do that. $11,000 for the next 10, 20 years is not going to equal up to what we're going to have to pay for a middle school. So I think everybody needs to be aware of this. I think it's a huge concern on Raymond. It's no secret, and I'm going to put this out there for full disclosure, I'm ready to get a divorce from them. I really am. But as a selectman, I'm looking at it as an economic thing that we're going to lose money. We're going to lose families. We need to bring, and now with this new economic committee that we're trying to put together, you cut me off. And I'm concerned, and I think it's something that Raymond really needs to watch. I really do. So I just want to put that out there.
That is a very important issue, as a matter of fact.
I think the boards need to start stepping up and saying, wait a second, and maybe somebody from this board needs to be on that committee.
What's your second?
Oh, my second one? It's gonna be Joe's favorite. The Roadrunner. One of the things is when I was running for this position, a lot of people said that they really miss the Roadrunner because some people don't have cable, they don't have internet, and they miss that connection that people have in this town with the Roadrunner. So I came up with some ideas. We used to pay somebody to put it together. We used to pay somebody to format it and print it and mail it. The town used to do that. I have talked to Kelly May at the Wyndham Eagle, and every week their newspaper comes here. It gets delivered every Friday. So if we were to hook up with them, which they have, they're so excited to do it, they're very anxious to do it with us, is to work together. If we get the articles to them in Word format with pictures, everything, they will format it, they will print it, and they will, as many pages as we want, and we will have a Raymond section in there.
Can you get together the costs and all the details on that and
I
get
did.
it back to us?
I already got them. You told me to have everything ready to go.
I did.
What I did is I called Nancy Yates, and I was talking to her about some prices and who worked on what. I talked to Dawn, I talked to Lori Forbes, and right now what we're working with and is like $1,000 a month for everything. We don't want to underpay them so we don't lose, because there was an issue before with Lakes Region and us where they felt like they couldn't do it for the money that we were paying them. But for them to do everything, to mail it, to format it, to print it, and she suggested weekly. I said no. I said I think once a month should be good. And she did say to me, Kelly says that it's like $500 just to do one page. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, there's no way we're going to get 2 pages. And she says, nope, that's not a concern. We can have 4 pages, we can have 8 pages, we can have 9 pages. And there are so many committees and groups in this town that we can, I'll even step up and be the person on it, that people can send me the articles and I'll send them into Kelly. But it's the board's got to give me a direction as to what they want to go. People are asking for it. I think it's something that people want back. We can try it. They have on the front now the Wyndham Eagle, and they're going to put something on there about Raymond, that Raymond thing's in there. Stop doing that. You said I could have this time. And, all right, I'll move it up. And the other thing is, they will do an article on the front page, too, about that we're going to do this, so people will know each time.
So we need to bring this back as an agenda item?
Yes.
Yes, it has to be done with that, yeah.
Okay. So is that something people want?
And it's gonna be a budget item too, $1,000 a month, and it's not in this budget.
The money right now is like probably 12,000, but you
Yeah.
could probably go down on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes?
I have a few items. You heard earlier tonight about an illegal meeting. Totally not true. The executive session was called under Title I, Section 405(6)D, which is perfectly legal. That's all you need for specificity. So, I don't want anybody thinking that this board is meeting illegally or discussing illegal items. It was a totally legally called meeting, specific, under Title I. That's all you need. The Boy Scout issue that I heard about tonight, I hate to debate things that were said in public comment, but I don't think there was anything illegal about it. Maybe there were some safety issues that need to be addressed, but there was nothing illegal about it. Budget Finance. I read the minutes of the meeting from the Budget Finance Committee. I suggest that this board meet with the Budget Finance Committee so that they understand what their charge is. They are not in charge of running the town. They're under the ordinance, what their charge is to advise on warrant articles. So I'd like to have a meeting with Budget Finance Committee.
We will plan such a meeting.
So that we all know what their role is. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any other selectmen comment? Good. Fiscal warrants.
I'd like to make a motion to accept payroll expense summary dated 9/10/2013 for the amount of $47,426.63.
Second.
All in favor?
Also like to make a motion to accept treasurer's warrant dated 9/10/2013 for the amount of $84,364.93.
Second.
All in favor?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?